many different live platforms, man.
I know, yeah. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday to the internet. We are streaming across YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, I do believe. But yeah, my name is Chris. I'm joined today by our good friend and brand new partner, Jon Youshaei. So welcome, Jon.
Thanks, Chris. Excited to have you have me here, and just happy Friday to everyone joining in. It's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, no, excited to have you here. So, for anybody joining, please do, drop a comment. We will answer any questions that you have. But I wanted to just set the table a little bit. The reason that we're doing this is because next week on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, Jon and I, mainly Jon, I'm just going to be there to host, are hosting a webinar called How to Be Confident on Camera. So we just kind of wanted to bring a little bit of awareness to that webinar and sort of set the table, introduce Jon to our audience, introduce Thinkific to Jon's audience, hopefully, and chat through a couple of things. So I want to get started. Jon, I wanted to do a little bit of an introduction to you, but looking through your bio, you worked at Instagram, YouTube, you have a huge following, you've interviewed Mr. Beast, the Paul brothers, tons of creators. You're also a speaker and a technologist. And on top of all of this, you're now a course creator as well. So I was curious, how do you describe yourself with all of that going on? What do you say your job title is when you're at like a dinner party and somebody asks?
It depends who's at the dinner. Like if it's like my parents or like that generation, I just say like I do things on the internet, or I'm a journalist. But if it's like more like talking to like the industry crowd, like folks like here in LA, for example, I talk about like being a founder of a studio, because that's really what this is. Like, we've grown our team to not just make content for my social channels and test and experiment with a lot of stuff, but work with a lot of big brands and Fortune 500 companies to make sure like what we're actually doing and putting in practice works at like every scale. So yeah, different titles, different audience, segmenting in real time, if you will.
Awesome. Yeah, you kind of got to respond to the audience that you
Yeah.
have in front of you. Awesome. Cool. So I'm curious, you have this insider view of the world of creators, basically. Again, you were at YouTube, at Instagram for numbers of years. You're now fully in that world yourself. I just checked on YouTube and you have over 400,000 subscribers. And then on Instagram, something around 72,000 followers.
Yeah.
So you've seen the science, behind the scenes of how to build an audience, and now you're actually doing it yourself. What are some tips that you might have for our audiences on building an audience for them?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is we get into a lot of micro and detailed tips. But the biggest thing is like approaching it like a business, even though it is an artistic field. So when I left my job, I was like, you know what? Like I'm gonna try to like save up a lot of my like a salary, and just try to hire and build out a process so that we don't have to repeat the same things twice. And then I also think there's an overall framework I like to think of, which is upload, upgrade, upscale. And I think a lot of people think of them in different orders. And what I mean by each one, with each one, is like phase one, when you're trying to become a creator on any of these platforms, is upload. Like, don't even worry about like, what your gear is. Like, I know that sounds almost like sacrilegious to say, but like really just upload. And I think the quantity is there. Get 10 pieces of content out before you go to the next step, which is upgrade. And a lot of people reverse these two. Upgrade means like, okay, I posted 10 or so pieces of content. I think I should invest in a better mic. I think I should invest in a better camera. Maybe I invest in some more like high end editing software. But I think like a lot of people try to upgrade before they upload, and it just leads them to being like way overwhelmed. And oh my god, I got to get this perfect camera. I got to get this perfect mic, that tripod, etc. The setting. You don't need to do that. Then I think once you're in that phase two, it takes a while, but the next benchmark is, have you crossed the threshold of 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, much more on TikTok or Instagram, where like short form, like you need to like kind of punch above your weight class in terms of followers to know it's working. And then phase three is upscale, which means, okay, I have been uploading, I've been iterating as I've been doing that, I've been upgrading. I think the quality is getting better. Now, how do I build like process around that? And so my goal was like just to get to the upscale phase and build a team and build a process as soon as possible. And we've been able to do that in the past year and a half, and learned a lot, which we could talk about in the process.
Amazing. There's a lot of parallels there actually with course creation. We see the exact same thing where sometimes people get a little bit bogged down in like, perfect is the enemy of done or whatever that
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
phrase is. But yeah, and we encourage, our new customers to start with like a minimum viable product, launch it, and then, you can start to iterate based off of real world feedback instead of being really precious about your idea and holding on to it. And then, essentially you actually don't release anything into the world.
Well said.
Yeah. Nice. Great. Okay. So you've built this audience, you're creating amazing content, and now you're partnered with us. And, I don't think this is a secret, and apologies if I'm putting it out there, but you're working on a course and
Yeah.
we're super excited about that. We're excited about everything that you're sort of going to be teaching, because
Thanks, Chris.
again, you have like a ton of expertise to sort of convey to the world and the internet in general. So I'm curious, like, why are you creating courses, and how does that sort of fit into everything else that you're doing?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, and I'm so excited to partner with you guys, that to me, like education and putting out a course is a natural extension of what I've been doing. Like if folks who are listening, like look at my YouTube channel, like the interviews as well as videos like this where I'm explaining, like all of that being free content, I put so much work into, and now I'm like excited with your support to like think about, okay, what's the next level of that? If there's a paid version, how can I go even further? Because I'm blown away. I have this one video that's called Ex YouTube Employee Explains How to Grow on YouTube. I think it right now has over 750,000 views. And some of the comments on there are like, best video about growing on YouTube that I've seen, like fresh ideas, this was entertaining as it was educational. And that video like took months to script, like quite a bit to edit to make sure we have like graphics and all that. And it's free content. And so now I'm like, okay, if I have, a course, how can I take that to the next level with a bit of a budget? And so we've been just working on this course for so long, and yeah, folks go to insider.school, like they'll check out like the kind of the initial landing page. There's much more to come, and if you're interested, like there's like that wait list there that I want to make sure that as I'm finishing this, I'm making this for you. And so we ask a few questions, but yeah, no, there's no secret. The secret's out. We announced this week, so excited to finally make it public after working with you and the team, Chris.
Awesome. Yeah, no, again, super, super exciting. So one thing we talk about here at Thinkific, especially when a new person is creating a course for the very first time, we talk about like it's a good course is not about information, it's about transformation, right? So it's not about like, packing it with a ton of dense information. It's about giving the student the right amount and right type of information that enables them to facilitate a transformation in their lives or their work or their businesses, like a real change. So what would you say, and I'm sorry for putting you on the spot, but what would you say is sort of the transformation that you are sort of promising or creating for your students?
Oh, so I think, and that's so well said, because I've taken so many courses in preparing and trying to make this one different, and a lot of them, I think it's so funny. They're like 60 hours of content. I'm like, if it's 60 hours, like why is that the level? Like why is it the metric that people are like sharing? And I see Nadia coming here in the comments. Hi, Nadia. Like people are like, it's like no. To me, I pride myself on, if I'm gonna have a lesson, I want to make it as concise as possible, as impactful as possible. And to your point, Chris, like, transformational. But yeah, I think that what was your question again?
What do you think is the transformation, either of like
Yeah.
one of your courses or, all of your courses put together that you're sort of aiming for? Like, again, it's like, when a student starts, they're at a current reality, and what they ultimately want out of the course is to like get to their desired future. So what do you think is A, that desired future that your students are coming to you for, and then B, that like transformation that occurs that enables them to get from reality to desired future?
Yeah. So I think it's two things. One, if creating is your side hustle, my goal with this course is to make it your main hustle. and to give you all the tools that you need to like build a real business, to get bigger sponsorships, to make content that will help you grow. I think a lot of people overlook how to get partnerships. And I think the fact that we've been able to, land 40 plus sponsorships in just over our first year as a creator, like I think pound for pound, I haven't seen too many people at our size like do that. And for like reference, like now I think our ad rates, our sponsorship deals have gone on up 4 times in the past 9 months alone. So it's like working with people who want to renew, and then now like see the investment to, pay more. And so like, I think that's like the first transformation. And if you're already a creator who's doing this full time, the goal is to help you build that business to become bigger, to hire so you're not as burnt out. Like I see a lot of creators who are making it or making a lot of money. They have no time for themselves. They have no balance. They continue making a lot of these same mistakes. They don't know really how to hire. And these are just a lot of things I've learned in the corporate world, that if you build the right process, you can explore and really free up your mind to do the creative work. So my goal would be, if you're doing this as a side hustle, let's make it your main hustle. If it's already your main hustle, let's make it so it's more balanced. You're not burnt out and you have processes to expand while not just crushing yourself.
That's a powerful transformation for sure, because I'm sure you've seen a lot of it where people aren't necessarily like, getting to that level quite yet. And how we see it at Thinkific as well, how sort of like crushing the day to day of that can be. And then there's also these like dreams and ambitions that everybody has. And when you're both sort of being crushed by the workload and then not living out your dreams or ambitions or seeing like enough progress on that front, it can be pretty hard. So I think, this expertise that you have for these, for creators and for, our audience and your audience is really, really valuable. I want to take a quick second to welcome anybody who's joined since the start of it. My name's Chris. I'm talking to Jon Youshaei today. I'm from Thinkific, and basically what we're talking about is our webinar that we have coming up next week on Tuesday, where Jon is going to be teaching about confidence on camera. So I'm just going to share the link here in the chat. So if you are interested in learning more from Jon, please do join the webinar next week. We also have a surprise offer in the webinar that includes Jon, and we're really, really excited about that. So only available to people who join the webinar, so please do join. And with that, Jon, I wanted to talk about this webinar next week. So the topic to me is very interesting. It's how to be confident on camera. And it's not something I've thought a ton about, as you might be able to tell by my makeshift background here.
Oh, Chris, you're great. What are you talking about, man?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, but I just watered my money tree in the background because I saw like it looked like it was dying. I'm like, man, I'm neglecting this. So I wanted to ask you, like, what is this idea of like being confident on camera? Why is it important? And then, one of the things you're talking about next week is 5 tips to increase your confidence on camera. I was wondering if you might be able to like tease at least one of those tips.
Of course. Yeah. I think it's a spectrum. So anytime that you want to make content, and there's a lot of people talking about faceless like channels, which I'll go into a whole reason why I think it's much better to like put your face on camera and develop that comfort. It's all about this like spectrum. So one, I think there's like, if you look at it like people are mostly awkward on camera, then they get a bit more experience, so then they get comfortable, then they get confident, and then they get charismatic, right? That's kind of the spectrum of how people like interact with the lens and interact with the camera when they're making content. And for most people, that journey takes maybe 6 years, 7 years. From a lot of people, it doesn't even happen. And so what I've realized is there's actually a lot of little like tricks that you can take to make that journey move faster and accelerate down. Like we'll go through like a lot of tips that it's not just even the speaking. It's like, how do you think about, what do you prepare? What are the notes on the side of your screen that you could have? So then ultimately, like you're talking to the camera in a way that feels more confident. What are the tricks? Like a big part of my presentation that we'll dive into next week is what are the tricks that big time Hollywood actors use to get the best performance out of their stars and actors? Like there's one thing that Christopher Nolan does with all of his actors on set that I now implement with my videos here. when I'm just filming for YouTube. That has been a big game changer. And that's just something that I was like watching a ton of behind the scenes and documentary stuff. I'm like, whoa, he does that with his cameras. Essentially, like, to go into a bit of detail, like the way you position your camera when you're filming matters a ton. And so when you want to get the best like output from your actors, at least this is what Christopher Nolan does, he doesn't have the camera so far away from the talent, which I've seen a lot of people do. Like when they're filming for YouTube, they put it away from them. It just feels very distant. He actually brings the camera in and then uses a wide angle lens, so you still get a ton of the background. And that way it feels just much more intimate because of the sole proximity of where the camera is next to you. So little things like that, if you bring it in, you bring it closer, you could have a much more like intimate sounding conversation. And then there's a lot of other things where, if you think about, another trick is if you try to do two things at once, it actually can make you feel more comfortable. So people may notice that there's like kind of this rise of people talking in their cars. Like, I don't know if you've seen these like videos on TikTok or even YouTube, Chris, but people are kind of talking in their cars and they're then looking at the camera, like then talk. So like, if you're doing something that it feels very relatable, or like a lot of times like people will kind of be making a recipe but they're talking to the camera at the same time, it's a great starter point because you feel comfortable doing that thing that you do every day, and you're just like, it's almost like you got your phone on your side and you're like talking, that helps like ease a lot of the tension that comes with, wait, it's just me and the camera. So there's a lot of things that like folks can do that make that journey much easier. And I'll have like templates and stuff that we'll go through as well during the talk, but it's ground zero and square one for people who want to be on camera to develop confidence. Then everything else will follow.
I love that. That's really, really interesting, because a couple of the tips that you just gave are almost like it's more psychological, which again, like now that I'm thinking of your title, camera confidence, it makes sense that that would be, the thing that it's focused on, because, if you have a good mic, in my opinion, then the next most important thing is just like you showing up as your full sort of self, and like not, falling into nervousness and like all of that stuff. And I think like that, I love that one with just the camera being a little bit closer to you. You kind of feel like you're more focused. You're more actually like plugged in to what's going on right now. So yeah, I love that.
Big time. And I know for a lot of folks, like we're speaking, like I'm right now using a webcam, but like, yeah, this is for when you have a camera, like a DSLR camera, like people just, put on a tripod far away. No, bring it close to you. It'll make a world of difference. But yeah, there's tons more where that came from. That's just a little bit of like the tip of the iceberg there.
Awesome. We have a couple of the reaction with the face with the, I don't know how to describe it. So people are like surprised and happy about that, which I don't know exactly.
I think see the chat. I see some comments coming in from a few people, but is it on?
Yeah, so there was a couple. I think there should be. I'm not a StreamYard pro by any means. I think there's
I had a guest come in the meantime.
Yeah, nice. What's your guest's name?
Ravello. He's our little dog. My wife and I honeymooned in Italy, and we went to the city of Ravello, and we loved it so much. And then we're like, okay, when we get a dog, we're gonna name him after this place that we honeymooned. And then this little guy came around. So yeah,
that's awesome. Well, great name, great looking dog. Love it.
He's a handful. But
yeah, that's awesome.
But anyway, yeah, if you see the comments or if there's any questions coming in, like I'm happy to field them as well. But that's cool.
Totally. We have a couple of reactions, but that's a good cue. So anybody who's watching right now, feel free to jump into the chat with any questions that you have. We should be able to see them, and I'll relay them to Jon. But please do let us know. In the meantime, Jon, I was wondering, just back to this, insider view of the world of creation and audience building. You did a really great job of sort of articulating like what the transformation is that you're going to be able to provide via your courses and sort of the eventual academy that you're building. But I'm wondering if you could tease out like any more sort of like tips or principles or things that you see across the world of creation, whether it's, in your own work and generating the large following that you have, or if it's what you've seen like Logan and Jake Paul do, or Mr. Beast do, or anything like that, really around audience creation.
Big time. So I think one of the things that's it's just inevitable that it's going to happen, and I see this more and more, is that the average age of a successful creator who's making a full-time living is going to get older. I really believe that, and I see that in the data. And the reason why is this trend that I'm calling the Dr. Mikeification of YouTube and of the creator economy, which I know I've talked about on different like live sessions, but I really believe in it. And what I mean by that is Dr. Mike is this creator who, you know, has a long history as a doctor. Like that's what he went to school for. And he is one of the first examples of somebody who's taken his profession and turned it into a profitable channel. He has over 11 million subscribers on YouTube, making content about medicine, about being a doctor, like how to like inform yourself. And that's kind of started this wave where a lot of professionals, like you have Dental Digest, who's a channel with over 15 million subscribers, now taking what he's learned in dental school and making content out of it. Legal Eagle, taking what he's learned in law school, making content. You know, myself, like working in like the inside of these platforms now, talking about them and educating, etc. So I think if you're listening to this and you're watching this and you're seeing a lot of these headlines, which I think are just oversimplifying the narrative of, oh my God, social media is a young person's game. Oh my God, I have to twerk, I have to dance, I have to keep up on these trends. I don't think that's going to be the long game. And I think folks who are going to be really successful at this are taking something that they've learned and they're just making that education more entertaining, and trying to show it through their own perspective. And that like mindset and that background will be your superpower, not just in making the content and making it more sustainable. Because I think educational content is at the end of the day a bit more sustainable than just trying to entertain and level up, and it just leads to this like hamster wheel. But when you work with brands and you've had a professional background, I'm telling you, it will come in tenfold, because we work with a lot of companies that they've worked with creators who they're like, wait, no creator has ever shown us a deck of how they're thinking about our campaign, until we started working with you. And to me, it's like, wait, that is like, if we're going to work with a brand, or like think about like, you know, like we have with like you guys, like what's the campaign? What are the action items? Who's doing what? Like how can like our team like work with your team? Like all this stuff is just, to me, it's par for the course. But for a lot of folks who may be younger and creating is their first job, they may not realize it. But for folks who are listening, who have had multiple jobs, who have a lot to talk about, I just wouldn't get discouraged about feeling like you're too old, because that's the opportunity. Like that is something that you could talk about that is just part of this Dr. Mikeification, professional creators turning into profitable channels trend that I think we're lucky to be in the window of.
That's awesome. I think a lot of our audience is going to be really excited to hear that, because the nature of, you know, course creation, you would need to have a deep expertise, or a lot of the times it's good to have a deep expertise before you're creating a course. So naturally, then a lot of Thinkific course creators are a little bit older than, say,
Yes.
you know, Jake Paul. So
Right.
I'm sure it's going to be really great for everybody to hear that, you know, there's a real opportunity here within
Huge.
sort of the creator and audience building and YouTube space. Now, how do you think again about like sort of as you're growing an audience on something like YouTube, by being able to differentiate in this way and having like a deep expertise that people are interested in? How are you starting to think about like how you would connect that to like Thinkific online courses, or any other way really of like monetizing your audience?
Like in terms of like how you build an audience and ultimately monetize it, or like, can you rephrase the question, Chris?
Yeah, just how would you monetize your audience as you start to build it? How would you start to think about that? What are some strategies that you would use to, you know, connect something like, you know, online courses to your YouTube presence?
Oh, I think that's where there's such a natural extension, because like if you're a more professional and older creator, I'm gonna put this dog down. You have the opportunity to then take what you're doing in your free videos, which is educating, and then think about, okay, what's the paid version of this? How can I up level this? So for me, like a big test before like I wanted to dive into this partnership was, can I put like free videos out there that are like hopefully like at like best in class, and really like teach people in a way that they haven't seen before, because education of how to become a social media creator is so it's everywhere. There's countless courses, there's countless videos about it. So when I put out that video, and then I put out the interviews that have done really well and got millions of views, and I saw the comments of like, I've never seen a video like this, or I've never thought about it like that. Like, that's an approach that I haven't seen. And also the algorithms are changing so much that you have to have a more modern approach. That some of these, like, I don't know, like I see a lot of these videos that I think insult the intelligence of viewers that are like, hey, be authentic or be original, be consistent. Like, to me, it's implied. And if you're a viewer who's interested enough to educate yourself, you already know these things. So what's the 201 and 301, which is why I wanted to create this course. So I think if you're a creator who has a professional background, first make sure to educate for free. And then I think the other one is like, think about a mini product of how to take that into a course and then like turn it into like a monetization opportunity. But AdSense, sponsorships, like a lot of that, like help you diversify in the moment too.
Awesome. I love that. That makes a ton of sense. We did get a question in the chat. So from Aryan, would you mind elaborating more why it's important to be on camera versus faceless content? Do you have any data around the benefits of being on camera?
Okay. Yes. Yeah. I saw this as well. And Aryan, I wonder if you're also Persian, man. A lot of my family friends have a similar last name. Okay. So Aryan, this is a great question. First of all, faceless channel, to just like poke a hole in what I said. It's much easier to try to scale the content because you could get behind a mic. You know, with a lot of these AI tools, you can like dub your voice. Like, there's a lot of things you could do. But here's the thing, like, there's a lot of talk about, you know, content getting clipped, content like that like goes off of your channel and onto others. And to me, you being in your videos is a watermark. You know, like, you are the person who kind of like if you look at my interview content, I won't have like a logo watermark, but I'll have some part of me reacting or clarifying or asking a question, so that if you're watching an interview clip from like my channel or somebody clips it, I'm still in the scene, right? Or if I'm talking to camera, like, not only do I think like you can make a better connection by talking to somebody, but you know, like that like video is it's indisputable, like who's behind it, like like if they talk about their personal life or what, there's just more of a relationship there. And the third thing I'd say is it just leads to so many more monetization opportunities, because brands want to work with a person, not a, like, you know, faceless brand, unless that brand is like huge. And it leads to more speaking opportunities. Like, you can't hire a faceless channel to speak on a stage, right? And if they do, it's like hard to like kind of get butts in seats, because not many people know the face behind the channel. So I've been able to take content that I put up for free, but then turn it into a speech and do that as a keynote and turn that into like a big monetization opportunity as well. So I don't know. I'm definitely on the other side of like, if you could develop that confidence and comfort, which is a lot of what our session will talk about, face, like channels where you show your face versus faceless channels are absolutely the way to go.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. I think like, you know, just my thoughts on it too is like we're starting to head into a world of, you know, increasingly faceless interactions with, you know, AI and all these other solutions. And I think that the importance and like of humans and human faces is just going to continue to increase. So
Yeah.
it's probably a good time to like get on that and
Oh, totally.
you know, be out there as that, you know, continues.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to share one more time for anybody that joined a little bit late. Jon Youshaei and I are talking about his webinar that's coming up next week on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific. And it's all about how to be confident on camera. So if you're a creator or an educator or anything to do with camera, this webinar is going to be for you. I'm sharing the link again right now. I don't know exactly how this is showing up in YouTube and LinkedIn, so hopefully that works. Let us know in the comments if you do need the link. We'll send it over. But appreciate everybody attending today. Jon, I want to be cognizant of your time. I know we're right at 30 minutes here. Do you have any sort of like last thoughts, especially around, you know, why someone might join on Tuesday, and then any sort of like reflections or of our conversation so far?
Oh, I think like the reason to join is just because you'll learn a ton. Like, this was kind of like a teaser, but you'll see in that session, like I'll like the deck, the templates. Like I am obsessive about like just preparing like visuals for everyone to take screenshots of and learn, in addition to all the stuff that will be offered. So yeah, I'm just gonna let it speak for itself. And I think the final closing thought is, I think there's few times that it's like we're in a window right now, and now is probably one of two of the best times in like the history of social media to become a content creator and do it as a professional living. The first time was like 2011, 2012 when first were things taking off, but I would say it was so early that you'd have to really take a big risk and know in a crystal ball that was working out. Now it's like, no, it's worked out. How do you think about it from a business angle? And I think that's what I'm really excited to cover, because even as far as into this journey as we are, I'm still surprised that people don't get those things that can help you think about it as an entrepreneur, as a creator, and to build a team and then sell products. There's just so much opportunity here that's untapped, and I'm excited to get into it.
That's fantastic. You're making me start to reconsider my current occupation. Sorry, Thinkific. No, just joking. I love what I'm doing right now, but I love this this idea that you're talking about, Jon, and this opportunity that everybody here tuning in has, and then sort of the whole world, and especially people that have an expertise. This opportunity is super,
100%,
super exciting.
100%.
Great. Well, thank you again for your time today, Jon. I'm super excited to do this again on Tuesday and go into, greater depth. So appreciate everything. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We will absolutely repost the link next week. Thank you, Marco. Glad you thought it was a great discussion. Thank you, Patricia, Garrett, everybody for tuning in, and we will see you on Tuesday.
See you guys.
Thanks, everyone.